My ranch, Shadow Oaks, is not land, it's legacy. It's generations of grit etched out in rolling hills and old-growth timber. It's where I rest easy at night, working from dawn to dusk, while my cattle graze under endless skies of Texas. But tranquility turned into conflict the day that Crestview Heights, a brand new subdivision, came of age across my eastern barbed wire fence, complete with a homeowners association and a neighbor with no understanding of borders. Veronica Steele, raw privilege and chrome Escalade, believed that my personal ranch road was her personal shortcut. She believed 3 minutes lopped from her drive were worth trespassing across my land. What she didn't know is that her shortcut bisected a battlefield, and I was prepared to defend every inch of it. It started like these things always do, slowly. I was repairing a fence a half-mile in on my property when her Escalade came speeding down my tractor road. She rolled down her window and asked, "Is this a through road?" Not hello, not apology. "No, ma'am," I said politely. "This is private ranch property. The county road is that way." She scowled, laughed at me, and drove away, mowing up pasture as if it was her own. I stood there, pliers still in my hand, dust on my boots, stunned. Surely this was a one-time mistake. I had made a mistake. The next day, and the following day, thereafter, her SUV drove across my land as though it were a public road. I erected signs, colorful, readable, and polite. Private property. No trespassing, agricultural access only. 2 days later, the signs were ripped out and tossed into a ditch. The tire tracks left no question. The second time she drove in, I positioned my truck in front of the trail. "You can't just come here," I said softly. "This is my land, and you're damaging it." Glaring at me behind her tinted glass, she retorted, "I've driven on this for weeks. HOA President Larson said it was fine. It's simple. Larson doesn't own this land, I do. Next time, I'll call the sheriff." "You're selfish," she snarled, revving her engine and careening around me, pebbles flying. "I did call Larson. He blew me off. Probably a misunderstanding," he said to me, as if property deeds were suggestions. I called the sheriff. My statement was taken by Deputy Hayes, my boundaries confirmed, and he spoke with her. But then she returned, smirking, defiant. The deputy afterward told me she had replied there was an easement and that I threatened her. I hadn't, but clearly she believed herself to be above the law, emboldened by HOA indifference and her own arrogance. That's when I lost my manners. If the law wouldn't protect my land, I would, legally and exactly. I hired Amos, a retired surveyor who lived next door. We shared whiskey in his map-covered shack. I told him the whole story. He verified what I already knew. No easements, no rights of way. "Mark every inch," he told me, "and make that trail hell for her fancy SUV." We spent the weekend installing shiny boundary markers and screwing in new signs. Amos grinned. "Those low-profile tires won't last." Next, I spotted Laura Bennett, a seasoned rural property attorney. She assured me I had every right to make changes on my land for ranch use so long as I wasn't laying traps intentionally. "Document everything," she instructed me. "If she ignores it and crashes her car, that's on her." And Operation Vicky's vexation was in progress. I studied her tire tracks and prepared for combat. I drove over her smooth course with my tractor and disc harrow to create a washboard of deep furrows. I scattered the jagged, half-buried rocks to test her clearance. I diverted overflow from one low spot of my stock tank to create a muddy bog. Further along, I spread 50 feet of manure, ripe, unavoidable. Finally, I planted thorny blackthorn saplings along the edge of the trail, a barrier in the making. Everything was shot, dated, and warehoused. A secret trail camera in a cedar held its breath for her next attempt. Days passed. And then, one Tuesday morning as sharp as a razor, I heard her engine. At 8:45, her Escalade pulled up to the trailhead. She stopped at the signs. My breath was taken. Would she turn back? Number she bull rushed on. The furrows hit first. Her SUV jounced and jerked. Then the boulders, one of them cut her front tire. She drove on, hobbling now, until she reached the mud. Dumb idea. Her tires spun, flinging muck onto her finish. She was stuck, axle deep. She got out, swearing, muddy and furious. The manure pile lay ahead of her. I believe that's when it hit her. This wasn't a shortcut. It was a gauntlet. Then she fought her way back up to Crest View, boots wrecked. I showed up, feigning worry. Trouble, Ms. Reynolds? You did this, she bellowed. You destroyed my road. I spoke calmly. This is a ranch trail. I've been working on eroding it, as the signs warned. Had you taken the county road, you'd be fine. She yelled about lawsuits as Deputy Hayes and a tow truck arrived. I pointed to the signs, the pictures, the video to him. He sighed. Ma'am, this is private property, clearly posted. Driving here was your fault. The driver of the tow truck winced at the wreckage and quoted her a painful amount to tow the Escalade out. Damage along the way added. Vicky tried to spin it. She sued me in small claims for damages, but Laura was prepared. We took our evidence, property records, signs, photographs, and trail cam video. The judge barely looked at her before saying, "You ignored posted signs and drove across a ranch? What were you thinking?" Case dismissed. Since then, her Escalade hasn't so much as grazed my pasture. Larson issued a memo banning access to my trail. Laura sent a formal notice with evidence of repeated trespass and a warning of liability. Word spread. Crestview buzzed with gossip. Vicky's name became a cautionary tale. Shadow Oaks is still again. Blackthorns are growing in. Scars on the trail are healing. My cows graze peacefully under pines. Some fights aren't about ego or shortcuts. They're about holding on to what counts. Standing by my fence post, I can still envision the shadow of Vicky's ruts, disappearing into grass, and smiling. Sometimes you don't just draw a line. You make it permanent.